we have here Romualdi. For me, this man is the greatest networker in the world I ever met in my life. Even better than Don, I guess. Or maybe he will be better than Don in the future, for sure, because his way of doing MLM is amazing. I would like to tell you this because what he is teaching is really awesome, and everybody change their mind to do this in correct way after what he says. And he is in MLM engaged since 1995, yes?
94. It was 94.
94, and he starts understand it like sales and was a crazy salesman, but he changed his doing of this let's say in completely different way. And after 15 months of doing this own your life approach, what Don is teaching, he changed over 140 distributors into how many, Jeff? 3,000 people, excited distributors. Yeah. So you can see that it's working. And now Jeff will share with you everything what is for him so important to do this in correct way. Our first training is to pick up the right people. Yes, this is a very important topic. So we will have the chance right now here from him directly. What are the correct people that we should, maybe not correct people, but the correct characteristics that we should look in different people that we meet here. So Jeff, I will be quiet. I will learn right now, like we usually do. And please, the stage is yours. Thank you very much for coming.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being here, and I'm not just saying that. The best investment you can possibly make, investment into yourself. They can never take that away from you. And there's plenty of things that you could be doing today. I'm well aware of that. And you chose to make the investment into yourself so that you can learn how to build a business that can allow you to own your life. So I commend you for that. And it's a very admirable thing. Notice there's 15 people here. There really should be, like 15,000 people here, but we'll get there, because what I'm going to teach to you today is just so incredibly important that if you learn it, and it's only one piece of the puzzle, because we want to keep it nice and short and sweet, and then we'll take the next piece of the puzzle the next time, etc. But if you learn it, you literally cannot fail as long as you don't quit. Now, isn't that a nice thing to know, right? So you should have high hopes for yourself. And I wasn't going to say this in the beginning, but I want to warn you guys a little bit. This morning I had an upset stomach. I wasn't feeling all that great. Okay, so if in the middle of this presentation, like something happens to where I have to go, you'll know why. I feel fine right now, but just in case, I wanted to let you know so you didn't think that, like, where'd he go? and if that does happen, I will make it up for you. But as of right now, I feel okay. All right. So anyway, having said that, let's start out. I always like to start out, whether I'm doing a live presentation or Zoom or whatever, and giving you the explanation and the definition of the Own Your Life system. Because if you don't know that, then the rest of it isn't going to work for you. So let's start out there. We can teach people with the Own Your Life system how to start sponsoring and building a business in less than 15 minutes, because and sponsoring from day one, by the way, which is, again, a very refreshing thing, right? People like to get some, results or the breakfast of champions. So let's get going right away with the system. It's so easy. An 8-year-old could teach another 8-year-old. You can get started from day one. So what is the system? Let's define it in less than a minute. Okay. All that we do is we talk to people about what they want. Okay. Or if you're shy and you don't like to talk, you can let them read the back of our lifestyle card. All right. to see if they want something. It takes about 30 seconds. They read it. You know if they have some desire or if they don't. And by the way, either way is fine. It doesn't matter. We're just looking for the ones that do. Isn't that nice? You know, you keep your friends. You don't got to bug anybody. You're right. So if they have desire, that's step number one, then they have to understand network marketing, because that's the business that we're in, right? Network marketing makes sense. Yeah. So we have them go through the first 5 chapters of Don's book. All right. They can read it. They can listen to it, both, whatever. Okay. We coined that, or I shouldn't say we, Don coined a long time ago. Now they know how to drive. That's learning how to drive. So that's step number 2. All right. And if you know how to drive, well, obviously you need a vehicle to drive. And that's what the third step is that you just share some information about your vehicle. And the vehicle is your company, your product, and your marketing plan. Folks, if you're doing more than that, or if you're talking more than that, really, you're doing too much, because the more you talk, for example, the more people think they can't do what you're doing. Okay. And the more you talk, or the more you do, even if it isn't talking, you know, you're sending them tons of stuff and all that, the more they think they can't do, they don't have the time to do what you're doing. And time is the number one excuse people use for not doing your business. It's the first thing, because, you know, we're busy. And even if people aren't that busy, they still think they're busy. So, and that's just the way it is. You have to deal with reality. That's how people think. And by the way, did you notice I said the number one excuse is time? The number one reason is that they don't understand it. Okay. So think about that for a second. What's the system? Let's do the system in 5 seconds. Okay. We do this, see if they have some desire, right? Or have a little 1-minute chat with them, whatever you want. Okay. Then we have them go through the first 5 chapters so they understand the business, know how to drive. Okay. And then we send them some company information, whatever is appropriate. All right. That's the whole business, folks. I mean, and think about it. The two biggest objections in network marketing that you're going to get are covered, all right, in the Own Your Life system. Number one, well, they got to have desire. Without that, you have nothing. But then remember the number one reason, excuse they don't get in is time. Well, we didn't take any other time, right? And they know that up front. It's not like we're trying to persuade them that we're not going to take their time. We didn't take any of their time. That's the whole point. And then remember I said the number one reason is that they don't understand it. Well, in step number 2, now they understand it. So, you know, they're the 2 biggest objections in network marketing, and they're taken care of right up front. And there's, you know, hardly anybody else involved in network marketing that do it that way. And that's why if you do it this way, you cannot fail. It covers all the objections. You find out if they have desire. And if they do, what we're going to talk about today is selecting the right people. Okay. If you choose the right people, it's just a matter of time for you to succeed. You cannot fail. I can't emphasize that enough. You just have to stay the course. And yes, there's going to be bumps in the road and all that. We all have that. I mean, that's the way it is. That's called life. That's reality. All right. Not everybody is going to jump into your business when you want them to. Okay. But if you stay consistent, you'll find plenty that will. And if they're the right people, it'll duplicate and you can build a business where you can own your life. Now, so to make it work, we already said the first thing we're going to talk about today is selecting the right people. But there's 2 other topics that are very, very important. Okay. And we're not going to talk about them today, but I want to mention them so that at least you have them in your head. The second thing is getting them started quickly and efficiently once you get them in. Very important. And then once they're in, working in depth, you know, probably some of you have seen me, you know, show how we work in depth. I use the lifestyle cards here, but working in depth. So the 3 most important subjects in network marketing, other than understanding the system, okay, which we just covered, are selecting the right people, getting them started quickly and efficiently, and then working in depth. All right. And that's all you have to focus on, the system and those three things, and you never quit and you can't fail. And that's the way it is. Don't let anybody tell you any different. The rest is up to you. I always tell people, you know, we're always here for you to help you, but we're going to say the same things over and over and over. You don't do, you know, building a house or doing heart surgery or mowing the lawn. I mean, you always do. There's certain ways to do things, and that's the way to do network marketing, in a way where it's the fastest, funnest, and simplest way to build anything that you want. Okay. So, and there's probably not 1 in 50,000 people who are involved in network marketing that really understand these things. Really. I mean, look at the attrition rate. Look at the amount of people that end up, you know, getting involved, getting all excited, and then within a year, 90% of them are gone. Why? It's because they don't know these things, but you're going to know them. So every single person on this Zoom, all right, is going to succeed if they just stay the course. All right. And you'll hear me say that over and over again, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, Jeff can do it or Don can do it. We're no different than any of you, not at all. Matter of fact, most of you are probably smarter than both of us. I'm just an average guy who has the ambition that uses a system that happens to work. Really, and it'll work for you too. So, okay. I'll tell you a quick story. A mentor of mine, his name's Bob, and this is a firsthand story from Bob. He told it to me. He was involved in Amway at one time in his life, very successful network marketer. And he had a personal conversation with Rich DeVos, who was one of the co-founders of Amway. And one of the questions that he asked him was, you know, how many people did you, and he used the word recruit, you know, that's a dirty word for us, because recruit indicates we're trying to get someone to do something. We're reeling them in, we're getting them to go to work for us. You know, network marketing, we don't do that if we want to be successful. What we do in network marketing, if you want to be successful, is we sponsor people and then we go to work for them, just like I'm going to work for you today. And then you'll learn this stuff, and then you'll sponsor people and you'll go to work for them. It's a completely different way than 99.9% of the people do it. All right. When I first got into network marketing, I read an article. You're supposed to sell product and recruit salespeople to sell product for you, and recruit. I didn't know any better. That's what I did. Recruited 114 people in the first year. 90% of them said they wanted to build a business. I wasn't duplicated in one spot. And that's what Adriana was telling you earlier. I switched over to this system. Within the next 15 months, I had 3,000 raving network marketing fans in my group. Ultimately went close to 15,000 people. Unfortunately, in that company, I didn't know how to pick companies back in those days. That's a whole nother topic. Okay. And, but it doesn't matter what company you're with. It doesn't matter what compensation plan you're with. This works anywhere, always. Okay. If you stay consistent, not with every single person, but if you stay consistent, it will work for you. Okay. Well, anyway, he asked Rich, he said, Rich, how many people did you recruit in Amway? And Rich said to him, hey, that's a pretty good question, Bob. No one's ever asked me that question. And he answered him. He said he thought about it, and he said probably about 500 people. And then the second follow-up question was, well, how many of those 500 people built Amway? And Rich looked at him and said, 5. Now, isn't that interesting, right? 500 people, and 5 of them built the entire, whatever, $8 or $9 billion in revenue a year flowing through Amway. Okay. I don't know if you guys read, the motivational books or philosophy books and stuff like that, you probably heard there's probably one leader, a real kind of go-getter, get people to, join their team, that kind of thing, out of every 100, right? And there's probably about 10 workers. All right. Now, workers are different than leaders. Workers are workers, right? They work. And if you give them, but if you don't give them some leadership, they basically, they won't lead. They're not leaders. They're different. They can become leaders, but workers will work their fingers to the nub if you give them some leadership and you give them some direction. Okay. And there's only about, they've done stats on this. I don't know how they do it, but they say there's about 10 really hard workers out of every 100 people and one leader. So if you think about it, they recruited 500, 5 leaders of the 500, 1 out of 100, right, built Amway. And on average, I'm sure, I don't know this is a fact, but I'm sure they found about 10 workers, and then it just kept on duplicating. And since they were the first company and they went into all these different countries, and no one really understood network marketing then. I mean, Rich DeVos, they used the theory like the 3-foot rule. Talk to anybody that walks within 3 feet of you, or anybody that can fog a mirror, right? That's because they didn't know any better. And they recruited 500. 5 of those people built the entire Amway. They never even got the 6th person for Diamond at Amway. Amway is not even a network marketing company unless you become an Emerald. You only have about 1 out of 100, 1 out of 100,000 chance to do that. So this huge, massive company that's still around today, all right, came from 5 people. And by the way, those 5 people were people that either Rich or Jay or both of them knew from the very beginning. So, had they known the right questions to ask and the right people to look for, they wouldn't have had to gone out there and run ads, or and recruit, because Rich was he'd run the ads and then Jay would come in on the back end and he would train them. That's kind of how they did it. Or it was reversed. I can't remember if it was Jay that did it, but it doesn't matter. That's how they did it. They if they would have known the right kinds of people to look for and the right questions to ask, they probably could have recruited, or we say sponsor, 30, 40, 50 people to find at least 5. They probably would have found like 10 out of that would have built Amway to 2-3 times the size or more than it is today. All right. But they just didn't know any better. All right. So that's that. Picking the right people. Who are these right people? Number 1 by far is track record. Say that to yourself, daily. Track record, track record, track record. In other words, I don't care if they are a doctor or a janitor or somewhere in between, doesn't make any difference. If what they do in their life, their career, the way they raise their family, just what they do in life, if they do it well, or they're always attempting to do it well, and if they're not real good at it, they work on themselves to get good at it. If they have that kind of mentality, hey, it's a breeze. All right, it's a breeze. They get in network marketing. I mean, think about it. All we do is we do this, we do that, and we send some company information and we follow up. If you have someone with a good track record and some of these other characteristics I'm going to mention here in a minute, it's a slam dunk for those people to do well in network marketing if the timing is right for them. It's always about the timing, okay? You can have the perfect person. If it's a terrible time, it's not going to work. You just stay in touch with them, though. All right, that's the key. Most people don't stick around long enough to stay in touch with the right kinds of people that would be great in this business. So that's part of it too. You got to have the longevity. All right, you got to stick around. I mean, would you want a heart surgeon operating on your heart that just like quit after a while because he had some bad days and a few heart surgeries didn't work? I mean, you get better and better and better. You got to stay the course in anything that you do. That's obvious, but it doesn't seem to be obvious because there's so many people who are quitters. So track record's number 1. Warm, open, and easy to talk to. All right. Life is way too short to work with mean people. There are some nasty people out there that I've seen build some big businesses, but it's not worth it. There's always another problem, a hurdle they have. You're always putting out fires. I mean, just matter of fact, that's my number 1 criteria: warm, open, and easy to talk to. The next one is reliable. I have found, I don't know about you, but I found about 1 out of every 5 people are consistently reliable. They do what they say they're going to do. They show up when they say they're going to show up. If you can't count on people in your business, they'll drive you up a wall emotionally. Don't work with them. All right. The next one is people skills. All right. And I don't mean like salespeople, although salespeople can be huge in network marketing as long as they what? they understand network marketing, because it's not traditional sales. It's network marketing. It's different. So salespeople can be great, all right, if they understand network marketing and they're willing to actually like learn what we teach them. Some salespeople aren't. I was one of those people in the beginning. Well, by the time I got into network marketing, I was ready to be coachable. But the prior 10 years in my former career, sales career, they would teach me something and I'd want to do it on my own. And, you know, a lot of times, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But had I listened to the people that really knew, I would have gotten, in my former career before network marketing, I would have been much more successful. But I really wasn't coachable. I had all the other traits, or most of them that we're going to talk about here, but that's not one that I had. And it really held me back. Okay. And there's no perfect people. You know, this is a model that we're talking about here. You want to try to, you know, we're a bunch of humans, right? I mean, and you're never going to find the perfect person, you know, don't even try. But you try to use the model to get enough of the right people so that you start to duplicate and then build a business ultimately that allows you to own your life. Okay. So people skills to me is like you can have a cup of coffee with them, you know, and you feel good when you leave, you know, an hour later, you have lunch or whatever, they listen to you, you know, they ask good questions, appropriate questions. You didn't feel like they had an agenda. You know, they're just good, solid people that come from the heart and the mind. You know them when you find them. Okay. And that's what you're looking for. All right. A good, I already talked about being coachable. If you're not coachable, you can't fix that. That's the name of the game. If I sponsor someone and I teach them the things that I'm teaching you, you know, the system, and then the 3 most important things, which is 95% of everything you ever need to learn in network marketing. The other 5% of the stuff, you know, all the details about products and, you know, company stuff, you learn that. It's called going back to school. Don talks about it in his book, right? I mean, you learn that stuff like without even trying on time. But if you understand the system, you apply it. And these 3 things that we're talking about, selecting the right people, getting them started quickly and efficiently, and working down group, those 4 things, I guess, you know, the system and the other 3, that's 95% of everything you need to know in network marketing to build anything that you want. Isn't that nice? It's not like, you know, people look at a doctor, for example. They go to what? Undergrad 4 years, medical school 4 years, maybe 2-year residency. And then if they want to specialize, another 2 or 3 years. Their entire 20s, when they're in their 20s, is gone, right? They don't even get a job a lot of times till in their early 30s or even mid 30s, depending upon if they specialize. And then they don't even make a lot of money in the first couple of 2-3 years when they're in practice. So they give up all that, but work their brains out, huge student loans. I mean, that's a lot to give up, right? And here in network marketing, you learn a half dozen things that make 95% of the difference. And in 2 to 5 years, you can build a business where you own your life. I mean, think about that. It's a walk in the park. I mean, people say network marketing is hard. No, it isn't. I mean, you got to work. I mean, it's not easy. You got to work, but you just have to learn a half dozen things and keep on repeating them and stay the course. Compared to being a doctor, to me, that's a walk in the park. And great network marketers, if you don't know it, can make a lot more money than doctors. So it's well worth your time that you showed up here today to learn this stuff. Because once you learn it, there's really no excuses after that. It's just about applying it, which is scary to some people, right? Because now they're on the spot. It's like, uh-oh, I guess I got to do this. But the great part about it is you can do it, and we'll help you do it. You know, so a good work ethic. I mean, that's obvious, right? Let's just say you're moving, you're out of your house to another house. You call 10 of your friends up, you know, 3 of them don't return your call, 7 of them show up, and 2 or 3 of them do all the work moving your house. You know, the other ones that are there, they're drinking they're doing a little bit here and there, making it look like they work, but they're drinking your drinks and eating your food. Isn't that kind of the way it is? At least it was with my friends, right? It's like, you know, remember I said about 10, they've done studies on this, about 10 out of every 100 people are really, really whatever the definition is, hard workers. You know, that's just the way it is. So you have to ask the right questions to find them. You don't want to have to go through 500 of them to find them. I mean, that's like Germany after the war, right? It's like, ask the right questions to the right people, you can go right to them. And that's the key. The key is spending 98% of your time with the 2% of the right people. Make sense? But to find those right people, you got to know the right questions to ask, okay? And lastly, and there's other things I could throw in here, but people who are industrious. You know, people who are industrious, let me give you an example of what I think of as industrious. Let's just say you had a son who was playing baseball, okay? And second base was getting all torn up, you know, kids sliding into it, the base wasn't stable. And so as a parent, you know, you want to get second base fixed because you're afraid like some of the kids are going to slide in and catch themselves on this beat up bag and break an ankle, right? Well, you know, a good parent, all right, would probably go to the coach and say, hey, you think we could get this taken care of? You know, we don't want our kids getting hurt, all right? But that's just a good parent. An industrious parent, okay, here's what they do. They go to the coach and say, you know, hey, you know, let's get this thing taken care of. And if it wasn't taken care of in like, you know, within a game or so after that particular game, when he noticed that second base was all beat up, that woman or man would go fix it themselves. Like they'd figure out a way to get the job done. They wouldn't go form a committee on second base fix-ups. You know, it's like they get the industrious people, if they run into an obstacle, they go over it, they go under it, they go around it. In network marketing, they'll call their upline. If their upline doesn't know the answer, they'll go to the next upline. And I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here. I don't know if I've ever said this to you before, but I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. Remember I said you find the right people, okay, by asking the right people. That is true. But once you get rolling in network marketing, right, the right people are going to find you because they're going to watch what you're doing. They're going to watch like someone like Adriana, who's having 2 meetings a week, and they're just formal meetings. I'm sure she has more than that, you know, and they're going to look, because industrious people, like the right kinds of people, they're watching you. They're like, that's who I want to be associated with. I mean, you know, and they'll actually they'll call you, start asking you questions like, how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Can I join you? Can my team join you? So it's a little contradiction, right? It's like you do have to find them, especially in the beginning, because you're not like a known person yet. You know what I mean? You're just starting. You just like everyone starts somewhere, right? But once you start having a little bit of success, even before the money comes, if people see you as being the kind of people they want to affiliate themselves with because you're a doer, you're an action person, you're industrious, you get the job done, they will search you out. And you'll see it in your business as if you stay. But most people, again, don't stick around long enough to actually see that, right? Or if they do stick around long enough, they haven't done the things right in the beginning to actually create that circumstance. Make sense? So you see how all these things kind of work together, like why you can't fail, because it's just the way it is. It's like gravity, you know, gravity always, you know, these cards are never going to go up. I could sit here a million years. Okay. So in network marketing, you know, we're trying to build a pipeline. Okay. And think of a pipeline, right? You can pump anything through a pump, basically anything through a pipeline, right? Oil flows through pipelines. You can pump champagne through it. You can pump your products and services from your company through it. All right. Anything that you want, you can pump through a pipeline. And that's how I want you to visualize your business. It's like as big of a pipeline. Don talks about the larger the larger the building. You know, you build the napkin presentation number 4. You build that foundation. Only when that foundation is built can you start seeing the building. And the bigger the building, the bigger the income. Well, this is just another way to look at it. The bigger the pipeline, the amount of income that you ultimately make, all right, depends upon the diameter of your pipeline. All right. And listen really closely to what I'm going to say here, because it's another life changer. Okay. the diameter of your pipeline, how big it is or how small it is, okay, is, how do I say, is the mentality of your key people. Okay. Now think about that for a second. We talked about track record, reliability, people who are coachable, people who are industrious, they have a good work ethic. Those kinds of people build big pipelines. Okay. They get in and they tend to do a lot of things different than most people. They are, you know, if they see that you're doing things right, and like what you talked about earlier, Adrian's had, they tend to like get involved. Like people sometimes say they wouldn't get involved because they're already doing well. You know, they're already making a lot of money or something. I can tell you, when you know what you're doing, they're the easiest people in the world to sponsor. That's why they're already successful, because they're looking for ways to succeed. And if you're one of those people that they recognize as being someone that can help them, they'll flock to you. That's why this stuff is so important for you to learn, because it'll attract. You know, that law of attraction thing, you know, that's, you know, there's some true parts of that and there's some malarkey to that, but the law of attraction is definitely true when you become the person that successful people want to team up with. Okay. So they tend to use more product personally in your companies. You know, people with big visions, like in our company, we don't mention any names because we stay neutral, but when you first get started, you need about $50 a month in order to get paid, right? But people with big visions and stuff, they might start with $50 a month, but then they want to try this product or that product. You hear Don talking about, he uses $300, $400, $500 a product a month. Some months I use that much, not every month. And some of them I give away to family. I mean, I don't use it, but big vision, right? I want to try that part. I want to try that product so that I can talk to you about it. Like people with small visions, they're like, oh, that'll cost me an extra $30. And don't get me wrong, I understand. You know, some people don't have the money. That's okay. You start where you start. You start what's good for you. Like in our company, it's $50 a month, something like that. Okay, right around there, right? So you start there. But as you start succeeding, like people with bigger visions and money starts coming in, then you try another product. This is what dreamers and visionaries do. Next thing you know, they've tried 10, 15 of the products. Now they're not only talking from here, they're talking from here because they've tried the products, they've seen the results, they've given some to their friends and things like that. Right kinds of people do. Would you rather have your entire organization filled with people using $30 or $50 a month, or using $200 or $300 a month? And you have to choose right now. That's what the right kinds of people do. So your volume, you know, you're paid on the volume. How big is your pipeline, right? That's what you're paid on. So if you have a lot more product flowing through there, and you don't have to coax those kinds of people into doing this stuff, they just do it because that's who they are. All right. Okay. So again, the mentality or the diameter of your pipeline, ultimately how successful you're going to be, is the mentality of your key people. All right. So you always want to think of like questions to ask. I've already gone over the certain characteristics, right? Let's think of some other questions to ask. And we're getting close to being done here. So a couple of questions here is, well, let me take a step back. Think of the companies with like big pipelines. Amazon.com, right? Walmart, big pipelines. If you're selling whatever you're selling, if you can get your products into those companies, you're going to sell more of those products, right? Because they have a big pipeline. How about Costco? For those of you who know, Costco is a wholesaler. For those of you who don't know them, Costco they sell more premium wines, or at least they used to. They sell more premium wines than any other company in America. And they're not a liquor store. So how can they sell more wines? Isn't that interesting? It's because they have a gigantic pipeline. And because of that, lots of people come to their store and lots of premium wines go out the door. You know, so some other questions that you want to ask, you know, to find these right kinds of people. Look for people who are like, you know, they have a job and they're going to school at night to better themselves. Or they're working 2 jobs and they're going to school at night. or they're working a job, going to school at night, and they're raising 2 kids on their own. Those people have initiative. Remember, watch what people do. Track record, track record, track record. You know what most people do if they see someone like that? They go, oh, they're way too busy. They wouldn't want to hear about it, right? That's the average person's thinking. It's not true. And I'm not saying when you go to that woman who's raising 2 kids and, you know, working a job and going to school, that right away she's gonna go, oh, I want to get in your business. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they have the characteristics that if you approach them correctly and the timing is right for them, might not be in the beginning. So that means you stay in touch with them appropriately, which we'll cover in other sessions. Okay. All right. They have initiative. They want to get ahead. And almost, if you talk to like psychologists, like they've done studies, every 2 to 3 years, something major happens in people's lives. Like they get married, they get divorced, they start a business, they lose a business. Someone in the family, you know, they have kids, they have grandkids. Someone in the family loses their job. Before they were fine financially, now they lost their job. You know what I mean? There's a so if you just stay in touch with these kinds of people, here's another question for you. Who do you know who's already doing well? You know, making 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 or more a year, who's laying awake at night trying to figure out ways to double it or trying to figure out ways to do better. Those are the kinds of people you're looking for. And if you don't know many people like that, there's ways to get to know people like that. And that's the key. Spending 98% with the 2%, 98% of your time with 2% of the people, and learning how to get in front of them. And we'll teach you all that stuff. Okay. So that's that. People had a paper, you know, kids that had a paper route when they were, who had a paper route or, you know, delivered papers when they were younger, or had lemonade stands, right? I mean, you know, me and my buddy Guy Hagen, we used to get up at like 5:30 in the morning, right? Freezing cold weather. And we had a paper route. There was like 400 people on this paper route. I mean, it wasn't fun getting up at 5:30 in the morning, but like I wanted money. I wanted to make money when I was a kid. I think I started that when I was like 11, and Guy was like 11 too. I mean, that shows initiative, right? That's who you're looking for. Those are the people. You find 5 of these kinds of people right here at the right time, and you help them duplicate and maybe go down, you know, 525, 125, somewhere in those first 3 or 4 levels, when you're constantly asking these right questions, right? And you're bringing them in, and then you're teaching them what we're teaching you. I can almost guarantee you in the first 3 or 4 levels, you're going to end up having, like, they're all the right kinds of people, but not all of them are going to go to work, by the way. Just because you pick the right people, some of them, you know, they don't get to work for a couple of years. Some of them never get to work for whatever reason. But I guarantee you, you go down 525, 125, you have maybe 155 people in your group. All right. And you're going to have 25 key people in there that are working their brains out. You can't not. I mean, that's who these people are. And using the 80-20 rule, you know, so if you had 100 people or 125 in your group, you'd have about 20 or 25 of them that are really working. And listen closely to this, because this is a life changer for you. Okay. Like when I ask people a lot of times, how many people do you think you need to build a business? And most people, because they read the book and stuff, they'll say like 5 or 3 or 10. Okay. And that's what you start with. You know, that's what you start with, and you help them do it. But you really need about 20 in most companies, about 25 key people. Okay. Key people, meaning they have the characteristics that and it doesn't matter what level they're on either. I am level blind when it comes to key people, right? If you have 25 key people in your first, you know, 8 or 10 levels, you are going to make a fortune, because these people are just going to, they don't even care what you do. They'll still care for you. They'll thank you that you're there for them and all that kind of stuff. But they're action people, man. They're out there working. They want to own their life. They want to take care of their family. And all you see is a pile of smoke coming out from the back of these people. And you can't even really understand that until it happens to you. All right. So that's that. And, you know, then that's the end of the webinar here, folks. The last thing I want to say, though, it's not the whole story. It's like, okay, so we find the right people, right? But then if you don't know what to do with them once you find them, that doesn't do you any good either, right? So that's what the next webinar is going to be about. is about taking these great people and like making sure they do the right things from the very beginning. In other words, number two, getting them started quickly and efficiently. And then the third thing is, once you do that, you start working down group with these great people. And that's how you build a business like 𝗣𝗜𝗖𝗞𝗚𝗛's business. And you're going to see that, you know, what took Don 25 years to do, you're going to see people doing that in 3 to 5 years. Absolutely no question, because now we can, everything speeded up with the upcoming app, with the updated book, with these kinds of meetings, people like Adriana, you telling your friends to come to these meetings, so the knowledge is duplicating on down group. You're going to see people do in 3 to 5 years what took Don 25. There's no question. It's going to revolutionize the entire industry.